they don't have people coming to their job saying these nasty things. So, yeah, we definitely
tracking the digital breadcrumbs for months. And what just went down at the WNBA All-Star Weekend isn't just about ratings or player drama. It's about money and a reality the league doesn't want to admit. When Caitlin Clark was ruled out, it didn't just disappoint fans in Indianapolis. It shattered the financial illusion the WNBA has been selling. Overnight, 1.2 million viewers disappeared, millions in revenue evaporated, and the online conversation went nuclear. The scramble to spin those numbers only made one thing clear. The entire economic future of this league rests on a 23-year-old from Iowa, and that truth terrifies everyone involved. The moment Clark was out, something unprecedented happened in ticket pricing. No slow dip, but a financial crater that exposed the WNBA's most guarded secret.
coming to their job saying these nasty things. So, yeah, we definitely...
48%. Let that sink in. Ticket prices didn't just dip when Caitlin Clark went out. They collapsed from $121 to $64 overnight, a level of volatility around a single player that's almost unheard of in pro sports. And it's not a one-off. Every time Clark misses a game, the same thing happens. The market doesn't lie. It's screaming that the WNBA's entire economic rebound rests on her shoulders. What made this crash even more striking was the timing. While prices cratered and the secondary market collapsed, WNBA players were walking around in protest shirts demanding more money, perfectly exposing the disconnect between perception and reality.
Historic viewership. How is it historic when it's like half of last year? Last year was nearly 4 million. How is it historic when it's like half of last year?
KC, ESPN was comparing this year's All-Star Game to 2023. Why? Why in the hell would they do that? I'll tell you why ESPN did this. This is another example of the mainstream media protecting the WNBA. This is another example of ESPN polishing the...
Let's get this straight. The players are demanding bigger paychecks at the exact same time that half their audience has vanished and their own market value has cratered. And the timing, coming right as Caitlin Clark's absence revealed exactly who drives the league financially, couldn't be more telling. And just so it's clear, the numbers I'm talking about come straight from verified ticket price trackers and viewership data, but the conclusions are my own, because when you follow the digital breadcrumbs instead of the PR spin, you see a completely different picture of who's really powering this league economy. The 2025 All-Star Game drew 2.2 million viewers, which ESPN painted as a win. But that's 1.2 million fewer than when Clark played in 2024. And in TV economics, that isn't a small dip. That's a financial disaster.
Can be injured, Steph Curry could be injured, Kevin Durant could be in, and the prices still will not drop to be this low. $75? Folks, I'm sure there's some high school football teams down in Texas that charge you at least $75 to get to a home game. 3-point contest, ESPN, ABC, and Disney score the historic viewership for the 2025 WNBA All-Star events. Friday, July 18th, ESPN airs the most watched WNBA skills and 3-point contest ever, averaging 1.3 million viewers, which is up 89% versus last year's WNBA skills and 3-point contest, up 8%.
ESPN knew exactly what they were doing when they compared 2025 to 2023 instead of 2024, trying to bury the real story. But the numbers and the market response don't lie. When you lose 36% of your viewership overnight, that's not historic. That's a wake-up call. And while ESPN played with statistics, the real consequences showed up instantly as advertisers saw over 1 million viewers vanish. Sponsors saw ticket prices crash nearly 50%, and owners saw their most valuable asset proved to be irreplaceable. Industry chatter now suggests something deeper because the WNBA's new media rights deal, negotiated on the promise of sustained Caitlin Clark-level engagement, suddenly looks shaky when she isn't on the court, and that has huge implications for collective bargaining negotiations as players demand massive salary increases, better conditions, and a bigger share of revenue at the exact moment that the league's value without Clark is being exposed in real time, creating a sharp divide between longtime WNBA supporters backing the players and Clark's fans pointing to the numbers and asking who is really driving the league's growth.
It wasn't for that moment with Angel Reese. And I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill.
I was with you until that.
I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill.
The new fans are sucking
life out of
Irony is impossible to ignore. The very league that benefits most from Caitlin Clark's popularity is now alienating the exact fans whose interest and spending power make higher salaries possible. And after months of tracking this, the pattern is clear. You can't build your entire economic model around one player while trying to downplay her impact, because the market won't let you. The truth is simple but harsh. When Caitlin Clark plays a WNBA, it looks like a legitimate pro league with real economic potential. And when she doesn't, it reverts to being a niche product fighting for attention, a reality the owners know even if they can't say it out loud. Yet the league's narrative depends on treating her like just another player for the sake of equality messaging and the idea that a rising tide lifts all boats, while the actual economics make it obvious she's not just another player. She's the one everything else revolves around.
The WNBA players in their pregame warm-up came out in these t-shirts, "Pay us what you owe us." And then immediately pivoted to playing the worst all-star game in the history of professional all-star games. They took the court in t-shirts. "Pay us what you owe us. We're underpaid. This league has lost millions of dollars, but we're underpaid. Pay us what you owe us." And then they served up a doo-doo sandwich.
Colin Cowherd summed it up perfectly. Even without Caitlin Clark playing, the All-Star Game still became the second most watched in league history because her presence has lifted the entire WNBA ecosystem, and her absence alone generates more interest than the league managed before she arrived, which is not normal market behavior but proof of a transformational impact. Yet the contradiction is impossible to ignore. As the league thrives off of popularity while downplaying her importance, like claiming you don't need the sun while standing in its light, and while the ticket price collapse and Nielsen viewership drop are confirmed facts, and the timing of players' protest shirts against this backdrop only makes the situation more striking. The loud industry chatter suggests deeper concerns, with owners worried about collective bargaining taking place while Clark dependency is so obvious, and whispers that media right projections could be adjusted if volatility continues. Because when one rookie's absence crashes a market, it shifts the power dynamics away from veterans and back to her, making it clear the WNBA's financial growth is almost entirely Clark's story. And those protest shirts saying "pay us what you owe us" hit differently when placed next to a 48% ticket crash, forcing the uncomfortable question of what the market actually owes when so much depends on one player. And leaving the league exposed to massive risk if Clark gets seriously hurt, walks away from a toxic environment, or burns out under the weight of carrying everyone else. Because while the players have a point about value, the market is showing them their real leverage, and that's a dangerous game to play without a bigger plan.
This is historic.
Media's role in all of this is fascinating because they are stuck between reporting the obvious truth and protecting relationships with league stakeholders, and ESPN's decision to manipulate statistics wasn't just about hiding poor ratings. It was about preserving a narrative that keeps everyone in the ecosystem comfortable. Yet the Streisand effect kicked in, and their attempt to downplay Caitlin Clark's impact only made it more obvious, turning the 36% viewership drop and 48% ticket crash into the story itself. Following the digital breadcrumbs, it's clear that WNBA is in an impossible position. Clark's popularity solved their visibility and revenue problem, but it also exposed a dependency that clashes with their messaging about equality and sustainable growth, and their attempt to benefit from her while downplaying her importance doesn't change the fact that markets don't respond to messaging, only to results. And the results show Clark isn't just part of the WNBA's economics. She is the economics, which creates a sustainability problem because unlike the NBA during the Michael Jordan era, this league doesn't have mature fan bases or diversified revenue streams to fall back on. So when players demand bigger salaries while the market data shows how volatile their value is without Clark, it creates a fundamental tension. Are they worth more because the league is growing? Or is the league only growing because of a single external factor they don't control? Right now, the financial evidence points to the latter, and while nobody disputes that players deserve fair pay has to be based on an honest understanding of the market, and that market is overwhelmingly tied to one player.
Guys, there. The 2025 WNBA All-Star Game was the most watched program of the night across all of TV. The night, not the day. With 2.2 million average viewers, up 158% from the 2023 WNBA.
Question ESPN statistical gymnastics tried to dodge is simple. How is losing 1.2 million viewers historic? And how is a 36% ratings drop a success story? It isn't, unless you value narrative control over honest reporting. The truth the market made clear is Caitlin Clark's impact terrifies everyone who has to negotiate around it. Because once you acknowledge how much of the league depends on one player, the entire competitive balance argument collapses. Collective bargaining is now happening under the weight of this dependency, raising uncomfortable questions. How do players demand a bigger share when the audience drops by over a third without one person? The player's position makes sense. They want to benefit from growth and better conditions. But owners are equally logical in questioning why they should invest more in a product so volatile. That's a tension no amount of spin or protest shirts can hide. The WNBA faces three choices. Build around the Caitlin Clark effect honestly, diversify enough to reduce a dependency, or keep pretending they can have it both ways. The third option won't last. Every absence, every ratings report, every ticket price dip will expose the truth. Players deserve an honest market conversation. Fans deserve transparency. And Clark deserves recognition for reshaping women's basketball economics. Until the league accepts that their current model collapses every time she's not on the court, sustainable growth is a fantasy. Her absence didn't just hurt ratings. It exposed the league's biggest illusion, that its growth is diversified and stable. The numbers say otherwise, and unless that reality is faced, the market will keep reminding them. Are these just the growing pains of sudden popularity, or signs of an unsustainable model? Drop your thought below. This story is only beginning.